Hello, this is Jacqueline again, and I just finished a funny group talk with my small group today. It's October 29th, 2010. The topic of today's group talk was an embarrassing story. So this is why it was funny. And of course, with that, the first vocabulary word that we learned was actually embarrassing. So what embarrassing means is something that happens to us that makes us turn red or shy. So in an example to understand, I left the restaurant with food in my teeth. It was so embarrassing. So embarrassing is something that happens to us that we're a little shy about and we turn red. So an example of somebody's embarrassing story is when they tripped on the street and there was nothing there that they tripped over. So and this was also a new word, to trip on or to trip over. So one time I tripped over nothing. It was embarrassing. So everybody was looking at me and I was embarrassed. In another example, yesterday I tripped on a banana and it was very embarrassing. So that was the first vocabulary word that we learned, was embarrassing. And then also the verb to trip. And you usually trip over something or trip on something. And then another vocabulary word, another phrase that we learned was all kinds of. And all kinds of is the same as a variety of, or all sorts of, or many types of things. So in an example, I like all kinds of different foods: Italian, Indian, Japanese. So it's a variety of food. Another noun that we learned was only child. So an only child. This is a child with no brothers or sisters. In an example, a question: how many people are in your family? And answer: I am an only child. So it's just my parents and me. So an only child. And then a new vocabulary word, frequently. And frequently is the same as often. So in an example, I frequently travel to the U.S. for business purposes. So I often travel to the U.S. Or B, my husband and I eat out frequently, so we go out for dinner often. So that's embarrassing, all kinds of, an only child, and frequently were the new vocabulary words. Some small mistakes that we talked about in the class, or in the group talk, were someone said, I spend time my house. And of course, the proper way to say it is I spend time at my house. So you need the preposition word in there. So you're at your house. And if you want to say who you're spending time with, you say with my cat. For example, I spend time at my house with my cat. Or I spend time at my office with my colleagues. And then the last thing was when someone was describing their children going to an international school to learn English, they said, we want our children English school, and it was a little bit confusing. So the full sentence is, we wanted our children to have an English education. So here English becomes an adjective, so it describes the education, an English education. And in more example sentences, my daughter has a Japanese education. Or I want my son to have an English education. Okay, so that's all for today's group talk.